Stop.
We have two choices. Limits, health, learning. We talk about this, speaking about education, learning from, is this learning from the homeless point of view, or learning from society's point of view?
Learning in regards to the question, which is there an actual solution to homelessness? Or is homelessness solved?
Well, yeah, society as a whole, they are learning. I can tell from questions people ask me on the street after, for example, after Tent City, during Tent City, after Tent City, even though the media attention was mainly negative, it didn't matter. It was just it was attention, and I had a lot of people come up to me and say they didn't realize how many homeless people there were downtown. They've been working there all their lives, but we've been completely invisible until they'd seen us on TV, and all of a sudden we just appeared. It was as if we just appeared out of nowhere. They were able to ignore us, but they learned to see us. I think people need to learn, yeah, that there is a problem, and learn that it is going to impact them personally if something's not done, because this just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and people are going to be, as I said, it's going to be shown on people's steps. There's no choice. They have no other choice.
Well, I think there was a person here who was saying something that, I mean, he was just shocked because, like, I don't remember growing up and seeing homeless people in Ottawa. I just don't remember it anymore. But that's just as a child. And it could have existed, but I think if we look back 40 years ago, 30 years ago in Canada, it was very different. And I think what's happened now is it's become a norm, or it's become sort of normal, because the whole, the internet and TV, we've seen the whole world, and there's poverty everywhere, so it's got to be here. And yet, there's something, there is, the middle class is disappearing. They are disappearing, and I believe it is this sort of serfdom, a different type of serfdom, a different type of, like, we're just in the middle of this sort of privatization of everything, and that there will not be that in betweenness in 10, 20 years. There's going to be the very wealthy, and they're going to be extremely controlling electronically of everything through smart cards, through, I mean, they're looking at microchipping. I mean, it's just, I don't know about you guys, it just seems like there's this James Bond. Did you guys see James Bond yet?
Not yet.
James Bond, guess what happens? James Bond gets a microchip put in him. And in the middle of the movie, James Bond's about to be killed. And guess what? Because of the microchip, he's not killed, because they can actually read his pulses and do whatever they need. Then later on he's tortured, but they take out the microchip. And before he's tortured, and then he's tortured, and he's tortured in the most brutal fashion possible. They take this steel ball and they hit him in the, down there, 6 or 7 times. And it's just like there's these two things. There's this, if you do have the microchip, you're going to save your life. And if you don't have it, terrorists are going to take you and torture you. And all I saw was this is one of the biggest movies coming out, and they're just condoning microchipping. And in the news they're starting to talk about it. It's just, this is just all linked to this whole thing that's happening in society, and it just doesn't seem as if people see what's happening.
The perception on the street, a lot of people that I deal with, is that there's more and more barriers. The gates coming up, and there's two camps. There's people who own town and people that they don't want around. That's the message they're sending is they don't want us. And well, when I'm picked up by the police, almost universally they'll ask me, how long have you been in Victoria? Why don't you go back to where you came from? It's like, well, I've been here since 1977, so as far as I'm concerned, this is my hometown. They seem to think that anybody who's on the street, that you can't be from Victoria. You've got to be from somewhere else, and you should get your ass back there.
Well, I'll just in this defense, which it's not actually a defense statement, purely just an explanatory statement. We have them ask that because the City of Victoria has such a difficult time affording the fact that we're the only ones responsible for it. I mean, there's other jurisdictions that just aren't interested in supporting the fact that the majority of folks that are without homes gravitate to the core because that's where the services are. So we're trying to track where are people from. Like, are 70% of the people from Ontario? I mean, we need to start lobbying Ontario for some support. Or are 70% of the people from Oak Bay, in which case we have a bigger argument to make to Oak Bay when we approach them for funding support. So, I mean, I'm not suggesting I understand the mentality behind the question asker, but
right.
I'm just suggesting from my chair, it actually is valuable information to know if someone, if this is their home, or if this is a second home because of certain.
Right. I just don't understand what the police agenda is. I've got basically no record, and in the last, about the last year and a half, I've been charged with, about 30 times. Usually the charges don't even show up on the docket. I'll go to court and then they've been dropped. Usually for obstruction, I've got quite a few camping tickets, which remain unpaid because I don't use money, and they won't take barnacles or anything like that in trade. I've been beaten 4 times by the police. Which a lot of that's my own fault. I've got an alligator mouth, hummingbird ass. I tend to, when they get condescending, I tend to get into a discussion with them. And there's a few mouth breathers on the force that like to talk with their fist. But I was arrested, as a matter of fact, last Friday. I'd gone to the legislature building to hear Terry talk, to address the legislature, and I was wearing basically this, except I had a tuxedo shirt on, and I was told I was dressed inappropriately, kilt, jacket, and tuxedo shirt. 259 was the policeman's badge number. Large fellow, he was just sneering at me. All this entry requirements with the security. He pulled me out of there and demanded my name. I asked him if I was being detained. He said I was. I asked him on what grounds. He said he wanted to find out if I had any warrants. So I suggested he also detain all the tourists that were around the legislature, find out if they had warrants as well. Anyways, I refused to give him my name because he wasn't investigating a crime. Well, there was actually a crime. I think I was being deprived of my constitutional rights to participate in the government. He asked me again for my name, and if I didn't give my name, he was going to arrest me for obstruction. I told him, okay, well, break up the cuffs, monkey. I guess we're going downtown. Which he did. He brought me downtown, and he also charged me with breaching the peace, which these charges will be up